Hey, what's up, and welcome into Around the Bags. It's our third edition, and it's been a little time off. It was spring break here at KU, and we're back here, though, for a good edition. We got a lot of news from around the MLB and, as always, from the Royals. And, Thomas, how was your spring break?
You know, all I did was work, and I couldn't go to the beach or the lake like anybody else. So, I mean, I made money, so I can't complain.
How
about you?
Can't complain about that. I actually was fortunate enough to go down to Arizona and watch some spring training. So that was very cool, very exciting, and a good experience. And hopefully, anybody that's a baseball fan should get to do that someday. Opening day is just 12 days away, so
get excited.
That's hard to believe. It was a fast winter, and we're almost there.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to, without further ado, we're going to get into our first inning here, and we're talking a little bit about the Los Angeles Dodgers, and they've signed Cuban infielder Hector Olivera to a 6-year contract, and it's worth $62.5 million, according to multiple reports. Thomas, what are your first impressions on this?
Yeah, it was a good signing. The Braves, Padres, Marlins, and Yankees were all in contention to get him, but in the end, the Dodgers got him. It was a good signing. He didn't play in the 2013-2014 season in Cuba, but in 2012, he hit .341 with 17 home runs in 2014 plate appearances, so it was a good signing. I think it'll give him a good boost.
Yeah, I mean, I got to think that he will come in and, he'll bring a lot of energy, especially, him being Cuban and Yasiel Puig being Cuban. Those guys come in and they bring a lot of energy. And, he is 30 years old.
Yeah.
But, signing him to 6 years, that's not overdoing it. It's not like they signed him to a 10-year deal. I think that would be way overdoing it. And, Juan Uribe is getting old over at third.
Yeah.
So
he's hitting free agency in 2016 season, so I think this might have been a signing. He might sit out this coming year because Juan Uribe is pretty good. So I think this might have been a signing for the 2016 season. And he also had some. He also played second base a little when he was in Cuba. So, and Howie Kendrick is also in free agency, so you never know. I think this is a signing for 2016 season.
Yeah, and you got to think he'll only be a good asset for them. I think the scouts say that he projects as an MLB type player right away. I don't know if I would have him that high up. He does have some good numbers in Cuba. He hit for a very high batting average over there. In 10 seasons, he hit .323. I definitely would see that number going down, though, seeing MLB pitching.
Yeah, I mean, it's not Cuba. Major League Baseball is the best you're gonna get. So those numbers will probably drop a little, but I think you should see him around the 280 to 300 range.
And so we move now into the second inning, and some news out of the Minnesota Twins. Their second baseman Brian Dozier has signed a 4-year contract worth $20 million. The team announced this just today on Tuesday, Thomas.
Yeah, the new deal calls for $2 million this season. He's going to get $3 million in 2016, $6 million in 2017, and then $9 million in 2018.
Yeah, and this guy is kind of an emerging player, and he's very young, and he's only got 3 years under his belt, but in those 3 years, he is steadily improved his power numbers significantly, from 6 in his rookie year to 18 in 2013, 23 last year. So the guy has a lot of pop in his bat.
Yeah, he's had this past season, he had career highs in almost everything. Doubles, triples, home runs, RBIs, stolen bases. I mean, walks, you name it. He's had career highs. So he's on the rise. I think, the Twins made a good decision of signing this guy long term. I remember him playing against the Royals all the time. He gives us trouble sometimes.
Yeah, and the only thing he's pretty much lacking in, I would say, is obviously his batting average. And, you got to think that'll go up with time, and the more experience, the better off he will be, obviously. Right now he's projected at a 244 average, which isn't, that's not the best, but I think he's certainly got a lot of talent with the bat. I think he'll only improve from there. I don't know about you, but I think that it was a good signing, and the Twins definitely need bats in their lineups.
Yeah, I know, and I think his defense makes up for that, mid to average batting average. But, yeah, it was a good signing, I agree. It might have been a little too pricey. He is 27, but, we'll see how his contract plays out.
Alrighty, and that'll do it for our second inning. Let's move on into the third inning, and it's the Chicago Cubs and Chris Bryant.
Wow.
This guy is an animal. He's 12 of 25, and that was actually not as accurate as today. He came into today with 8 homers today on Tuesday, and then he hit another one today, Thomas. So he has 9 home runs in just 10 games for the Chicago Cubs.
Yeah, this guy is absolutely tearing it up. He has 14 RBIs. He's batting .480 with a slugging percentage of 1.52. You can't say enough about this guy. This guy's only playing 10 games, and he's making a name for himself, that's for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And, when I watch Chris Bryant, I've watched a little bit of him so far in spring training, because, I've heard all about him. Got to watch him and stuff.
Oh,
He's got such a short, compact swing, and what I mean by that is his bat gets in the zone quickly, it stays long in the zone, and then it leaves quickly. So he's hitting the ball with a lot of authority. The ball is just jumping off the bat, and, scouts say that you can tell a power hitter by the way the ball comes off the bat, and the ball just comes off his bat it comes off with a different sound. It's got a louder crack. This guy hits everything hard, but the Cubs are under a little dilemma and on whether or not to start him in the big leagues or in AAA right now.
Yeah, he was drafted second overall in the 2013 draft, I believe, and he is considered by some as one of the top prospects in baseball. He's definitely the Chicago Cubs' top prospect. But, yeah, they're thinking about moving him to outfield right now. He might start the year in AAA just to develop him and, develop his skills towards the outfield, because he's been playing third base all his life. But, that's for the Cubs to decide, and, Madden to decide and figure out what's best for his team.
Yeah, and he'll figure it out. He's a good enough athlete, good enough player. I think he can play anywhere. In his body, might translate towards the outfield more. He's 6'5". He's a little bit
huge.
lanky. Yeah, he's very lanky. So he might translate better to the outfield, but we'll see what happens there. And we're going to move into the fourth inning now. And we're still going to stick here with the Cubs and the rest of their team and the rest of their prospects, and how this team is just extremely growing at a very fast pace with the emergence of Javier Baez, who got some playing time in the MLB last year. Jorge Soler, he got some time in the MLB as well last year, and a big-time shortstop prospect in Addison Russell.
Yeah, I compare these guys. I know I said it on the last episode of this, but Run the Bags. But I compare them to the Royals somewhat. You have all these top prospects coming up. Chris Bryant, Addison Russell at shortstop, Jorge Soler outfield. These guys, all these guys, that they drafted, high in the draft in the first, second rounds, they're coming up in the big leagues now.
Yeah, absolutely. And the thing with all of them is they all can hit for a significant amount of power.
Oh, yeah.
And, I said opening up that I was fortunate enough to go see spring training this year, a couple of games, and I went to a Cubs game, Thomas, and Jorge Soler is just a monster. This guy has all of the tools, a 5-tool player, 4 or 5-tool player. He has an arm. He can hit for power. He can hit for average. He can run a little bit. This guy can do a lot. And in one of the games, Thomas, I swear he hit a ball probably the hardest I've ever seen. It probably didn't go above 40 feet above the ground, and it hit the wall midway up. He's just a monster. So the Cubs have 3 great guys in Addison Russell, Jorge Soler, and Javier Baez. It's just a matter of getting them MLB time, and and how they'll grow as major league players. We can see that they've done it in the minor league level, but let's see how they do it in the major league level.
Yeah, you kind of saw that from Javier Baez last year. He played in a couple games, came up to the majors last season. He was kind of inconsistent, He hit 9 home runs as a second baseman, but, found out his all-or-nothing approach at the plate won't work against big leaguers. He struck out 95 times in 213 at-bats while batting 169. So, he hit a lot of home runs, but you got to be more consistent batting average.
Right. And, I think that'll go up as these guys get more playing time and more experience at the big league level. The Cubs are going to be a scary team to look out for in the future. Let's move on now to the 5th inning. That was our 4th inning. The 5th inning, it's all about Buster Posey. And
Buster Posey.
Buster Posey, the big question here is, with the absence of Pablo Sandoval at third base, Buster Posey sort of becomes the face of the Giants now. And how is he going to carry the Giants this year?
Yeah, I mean, the injury to Hunter Pence, that even makes his role greater than in the upcoming season. But, he's been the face of the Giants for quite some time now. He was a really good prospect coming up.
Three rings for him,
Oh, yeah, just 3 rings, but beating the Royals last year, oh, man. But, he's been the face of the Giants for, a couple years now. He's really a top prospect coming through the ranks as a youngin'. But, I think he might even be the face of the MLB right now.
Yeah, he can. There's an argument right there for that. Him. I also see Mike Trout, Andrew McCutchen, just
Clayton
a lot.
Kershaw.
Right, a lot of young new talent. This wave of new talent. Even Bryce Harper is up there as well.
Yeah.
But certainly Buster Posey is up there. But right now he's struggling in spring training, and he's just hitting 182 before the other day, and that was when they played the Royals, and that left him at 5 for 24. So he's not feeling it right now, but he says that his swing is starting to feel a little bit better. So, Buster Posey, he's a stud, and he hits consistently. His lifetime average 308. So I'm not too worried about those spring numbers.
No, like I said, it's spring training. Yeah, if you want to do bad, you want to do bad in spring training. So I mean, he's won 1 MVP. He's, I think, a 3-time All-Star. And like Mitchell said, three-time national champion. So, there's nothing to worry about in spring training. He's going to be a stud like always. I just hope nothing happens to his ankle again, 2 years ago?
Yeah. But I wouldn't worry about that at all with the rule change. And
yeah.
He'll be fine after that terrible injury. But anyway, let's move on into the 6th inning here. And we talked a little bit about Yu Darvish, the last segment we had, the last edition of Around the Bags, and how Yu Darvish he is out for the season for the Texas Rangers.
Yeah, that is going to hurt him. I think he had surgery last week, I believe, but I mean the projected rotation now for the Rangers is as follows: Giovanni Gallardo, Derek Holland, Ross Detweiler, and Colby Lewis. So they're still missing that last one. The possible replacements are Nick Martinez and Michael Kirkman. So, his absence is definitely going to be missed, and they got to figure out who's going to step in his role. And, I don't think anybody's going to be able to replace Yu Darvish, but hopefully someone can do the best they can.
Yeah, I don't think you can replace him either. I mean, to me, Yu Darvish is the face of that franchise, and he's a leader in the clubhouse, and he's the type of guy, the type of pitcher that can really turn a team around. They finished 5th in their division last year. That's not good at all, especially with the addition of Prince Fielder, who's an outstanding player. Hopefully he bounces back. But you need Yu Darvish in your rotation if you're the Texas Rangers, and having him out for the whole year, that's going to really hurt, and it's going to probably turn, the Rangers from a starting to get their team to a rebuilding team, and they're going to have to rebuild around Yu Darvish. because, you just simply can't replace him. And he's led the league multiple times in strikeouts. He's a Cy Young candidate type of guy every year. He's got 5 or 6 pitches that are just lethal. So you can't really replace a Yu Darvish.
Yeah, I mean, he went 10-7 last season with a 3.06 ERA. So, I mean, right there, you don't have 10 wins. So his absence, I mean, it's going to be hurtful.
Absolutely. And that was our 6th inning. We'll move now into our 7th inning right here with Cliff Lee, the former Cy Young. He has been put to the 60-day DL.
Yeah, I mean, he has a torn common flexor tendon. He's 36 years old. He chose to not have surgery, and that's why he's put on the 60-day DL. But, at 36 years old, I mean, do you think it was a good idea, Mitchell?
Yeah, I think that the Phillies made a huge mistake, Thomas, in that they should have traded Cliff Lee while they could.
Yeah, I agree.
A while ago, and they just did not do that. They held on to him. Cliff Lee, just a couple years ago, was that dominant pitcher in the league. I really feel like once they started to see any decline in him, they should have traded him, and now they're just kind of stuck with him. Going to the DL, he's not going to have very much trade value at all, as last year he just threw 81 innings. His numbers are consistently going down. It's just kind of a mess right now for the Philadelphia Phillies.
Yeah, you got to feel for him. I mean, he's getting paid a lot of money. Who knows? But, I mean, just in 2013, though, he was an all-star. He finished 6th in the Cy Young voting. He had his career highs with base on balls per 9 innings with 1.3 and his best strikeout to walk ratio at 6.94, and he was also 14-8. So I mean, that was only 2 years ago. So his numbers might be declining, but I think he still has some left in him.
Yeah, I think he could have just a little bit in him, but like I said, the problem is that I just don't think there's much trade value there. I think that the Phillies can get just a little bit more out of him. But now they're just kind of leaving their rotation is up to basically Cole Hamels.
Yeah,
and Cliff Lee will not be, he won't be that guy anymore as he's 36 years old. And when you get injured around, the 36 to 38 range, and
it's not looking good.
It's not going to be looking good. And the Phillies are kind of under a rebuilding stage as well, as Ryan Howard is coming back. It'll be really interesting to see how that whole saga plays out. That was our 7th inning. We're going to take a quick break and get the 7th inning stretch here. So we're going to take a quick little break, and then we'll be right back with some Royals news. Alrighty, and we're back from the 7th inning. We got a good little break in there, and I'm Mitch Glessner alongside Thomas Lemanske. This is Around the Bags. It's our 3rd edition. Great to be back from spring break, and we're getting now into some Royals news as we move into the 8th inning, and the Royals, Thomas, are optioning Brandon Finnegan to the minor leagues.
Yeah, he had a rough spring training. I think they did this just to develop him as a starter. And I think Ned made comments about that. But, yeah, he saved us last year coming out of the pen with a couple injuries. But, Yeah, I think he got sent to Double A Northwest Arkansas, but I think that's so he can work on his mechanics, work on his pitches, and maybe you never know. I think we might see him later on this year coming in as a starter for the Royals.
Yeah, I certainly agree there, and it's good. I think this is a good move. I think there's no need to rush Brandon Finnegan into the major leagues to start off this year. I mean, the guy was just drafted last year, and then ends up in the World Series. He was the first player to ever pitch in the College World Series, and then in the same year,
that's crazy,
pitch in the World Series. Yeah, which was just unbelievable. And he came in and he was electric for a few innings there in the postseason. But I think it's the best move, and it's in the best interest for the Royals to start him out in the minor leagues so that he can develop a little bit more. Right now, he's just basically a 3-pitch guy. He's got, a fastball, changeup, slider pretty much. And I think he needs to develop either a 4th pitch, or his changeup certainly needs to improve if he wants to, be a starter for the Royals in years to come.
Yeah, he did really good for us, when he first came up from the minors last year. But, going through the playoffs in the ALCS and World Series, he struggled a little bit. He had a 27 ERA in both the ALCS and the World Series. So, facing the top competition, the Giants and Angels, he had some trouble. But, I'm glad they sent him down to Northwest Arkansas. I think this is probably the best thing for him, because when he drafted him, they drafted him for being a starting pitcher. So, and it was crazy that I didn't expect him at all to come up and play. I mean, in the MLB last year. So, that was just sprinkles on the ice cream. But this is the best move for him.
Yeah, and it's not a huge deal either, as the Royals are still trying to develop a lot of talent pitching wise in their farm system, in Sean Manaea, Miguel Almonte, Christian Binford, and the biggest name probably of all those guys, Kyle Zimmer.
Oh yeah, you'll see. Hopefully, you'll see most of those guys in the MLB on the Royals sometime soon.
Kyle Zimmer was our first round pick a couple years ago, and that guy has just started to fly through the minor leagues. And it's too bad though that he had that shoulder surgery last year, but he's trying to bounce back from that.
Yeah, he was our first-round draft pick 2 years ago. He did struggle with, I think he had some torn tissue in his shoulder, and that's why he got surgery. But, the Royals still have high hopes for him. Starting the year in Double A Arkansas, Northwest Arkansas, with all those guys, I think it's really going to help him, especially to feed off that energy and feed off, that other talent that he's with.
Yeah, right. And Kyle Zimmer, he's got electric stuff. Scouts say the fastball is major league ready. He's got a major league ready breaking ball as well. He's just got a lot of lethal pitches, and he's so young, and he's a converted third baseman. Imagine that.
Got a cannon.
Yeah, he certainly has the arm. And I think he'll be kind of like a Brandon Finnegan, though, in years to come, in that the Royals will probably bring him up late this year if, we're getting into the postseason and arms are starting to wear down. I think he could be that Brandon Finnegan type of player here in the 2015 season. Let's move on now to the 9th inning. And we're just going to talk our overall Royals.
Talk about the Royals
overview for spring training so far, as they're 13-8. They're 3-7 over their last 10 games. The starting pitching has struggled a little bit, Thomas. What are your thoughts so far on the Royals?
I like I said before, it's getting kind of redundant, but you want to do bad when it's in the spring when we're in spring training. The starting pitching hasn't done well. Vargas has probably done the best. Vargas has a 4.5 ERA. He's only pitched 2 innings. He's got 2 hits, 2 runs against him, and 1 earned run. Volquez, he's struggling. He's a 6.23 ERA. He's pitched 4.1 innings. He's got 8 hits against him, 5 runs, and 3 earned runs. Danny Duffy is doing even worse. He's got 6.75 ERA, 4 innings pitched, 6 hits, 3 runs and 3 earned runs. So, yeah, we're not doing too well, but, like I said, spring training, you want to work out the kinks, and, hopefully we'll do a lot better when the season rolls around.
Yeah, and I think the Royals are the type of team this year that will do that. Last year they really exceeded expectations in spring training, and that got everybody really, hopeful, high hopes, probably of all time for the Royals last year after spring training. But this year, we pretty much know what to expect, and they're doing very well right now. They're winning ball games. They're
second in the Cactus League.
Yeah, exactly. They're playing phenomenal ball, but people now realize that they can't have such high expectations as they did last year. But there are some signs showing that this team can repeat what they did last year. And Eric Hosmer right now is batting .351 in the spring. He's tearing it up. Lorenzo Cain is batting .344 in the spring. He's tearing it up, and those are the type of guys, the type of leaders that this Royals ball club needs throughout the season. Lorenzo Cain, he brings a lot to the table in the outfield. He covers a lot of ground, and during the postseason, I saw a lot of leadership out of Lorenzo Cain. I thought that he emerged as one of the big leaders, and same with Eric Hosmer. He had a couple big home runs. Lorenzo Cain made a couple big catches. Those guys, I think, they're having good springs, and I think it's going to carry over. I really do.
Yeah, I agree with what you're saying. I saw a lot of leadership from Salvi too. Salvador's hitting .324 in spring training. So, all these, I think everybody's coming back. So yeah, expectations are high. I hope Moose, Hosmer, Locane, Salvi, I just hope they just feed off what they did last season in the playoffs and get better. That's all you can ask for them. I especially hope Moose, gets that batting average up from what it was last season. He got up in the playoffs. He really helped us in the playoffs, but, you got to do it all season. It's all about consistency in the MLB, and if you're a consistent team in the MLB, you're going to win a lot of games. MLB is all about how hot a team is. If you're hot, you're going to win games. If you're not hot, you're going to lose games. So, it's all about consistency.
And the Royals are the type of team that can get hot really quickly, especially with all the young guys they have. But going back to what you said about Mike Moustakas, I really hope this is the year that Mike, gets around that 270 average, which we've all hoped for. I think he's the type of guy that can do that. He's just had, for me, it looks like a mental issue. He doesn't have a lot of, if it was a physical issue like an injury or kinks in his swing, he doesn't have a lot of kinks in his swing.
No.
It was more of a mental thing, and I think we saw that when George Brett came up as the hitting coach. We started to see guys in Eric Hosmer and Mike Moustakas who were struggling. They started getting hotter and hotter. So for me, it looks as though it was more of a mental thing. And now that they reached the World Series and kind of got over that hump, they now believe in themselves, I think, a little bit more. And I think it's really going to show, and it's going to show early on this year.
Yeah, the guy who has not really been talked about is Cologne, the second baseman. He's batting .367, so he's doing really well too. But yeah, like you said, when George became our hitting coach for that short amount of time, some might say it saved our season because we got hot. We went on a run. I think we won like 7, 8 straight, something like that. We won a lot of games when he was a hitting coach. So, it lit a spark. I really hope Moose, just picks off where he left off. Everybody's been hoping for it. Everybody's been expecting it, but it hasn't happened yet. He was a high draft pick by the Royals. I think it was 1 year before we drafted Hosmer. So, he has the potential to do it. Now we want to see him do it. Yeah,
and I think this could be the year where the Royals really put it all together, in that last year they did it with their pitching and defense, and the offense was lacking. I really think this year they can put the whole thing together. I know the pitching is struggling a little bit right now in the minors, but I really believe that, this offense, they've got guys that can get hot extremely quickly. And I think this will be the year that their offense starts out hot. I think their pitching is going to start off hot. I love the addition of Chris Medlin and Edison Volquez. I think those guys will emerge as good pitchers in the rotation, and I think that the Royals are going to start off on a really good note. I think that they're going to be a team that is going to be feared in the AL Central from the very start of it, and let's hope that we can knock off those Detroit Tigers and get that AL Central title. But that will do it for today. It was a good edition. Thomas Lemanske, Mitch Glessner. It was Around the Bags, edition 3. Thank you for listening, and tune in for the 4th edition next week.